I asked you guys about your hottest punk rock, hardcore, emo, or alternative culture takes on my social platforms, and today I'm gonna peel those back and throw them up against the wall and tell you guys if your takes are either hot, cold, good, bad, or indifferent, okay? Hey, how's it going? I'm Dan Frampton, and today is all about your takes. If you want to take part in the next video like this, then all you gotta do is follow me on my social platforms. They all have this handle, at Dan Frampton, the O's a zero. We got Twitter, we got Threads, we got Instagram, and we got the YouTube community tab. I popped the same question up on all those platforms, and you guys came through with some takes. I'm gonna start with Threads because it's the most recent one, and I only have 2 responses here. The first response on Threads goes like this: Fugazi sucks and I can prove it. And we don't need to prove it. I'm gonna agree with you here, okay? Now I know that might be a little bit of a hot take, and I don't know if they actually suck, but I don't like them. I've never liked Fugazi. I think their music is kind of boring. I think their stage show is kind of boring. I do appreciate the DIY approach, but in my opinion, Fugazi is just not the best band in that genre. Another user comes on and says, shouldn't be a hot take in my opinion, but Crowdkilling is pretty lame. And for this one, there's a little bit more of a nuanced answer. It's not really so black and white, you know, it's kind of situational, time and place as it were. If you're at a show and people are just standing around and then you start running around and throwing your body into them, that's a little bit lame, okay? But if you're at a hardcore show and there isn't really room to go, then you're gonna be crowd killed no matter what, right? But in my personal opinion, I like that sense of danger at a show. You know what I mean? To be inside of that volatile atmosphere and have to be like defending yourself, that's my version of fun. If I'm just standing there looking at a band being like, I could do this anywhere. This is boring, whatever. I could be into Our Lady Peace and go do this. So me personally, I like being on my toes. I like looking for slammers over here, looking for stage divers up here, looking to protect myself over here, pushing somebody over there. You know what I mean? Oh my God, here comes the guy with the flying hip attack. That kind of thing is just very much my vibe. And I'm gonna find the times and places to be inside of that vibe. And if that's not your vibe, then of course you could find other shows to not like get crowd killed at. But if you're at a show where the vibe isn't that and you start to brute force a mosh, then that's pretty lame, and I will agree with that then. Popping over here to Twitter, we got a user that says, God's hate. That's it, that's the tweet. Very controversial opinion, God's hate indeed. I'm gonna agree with that. Eddie Reyes is the king of the Long Island scene. And I'm gonna have to say, I don't know much about the Long Island scene specifically, okay? This guy Eddie Reyes, he's the Taking Back Sunday guy, I think, right? But like in my mind, I don't see him as like the king of anything. Now I might not be on the ground level of the Long Island scene, but this is not a take that I've ever seen before. Latin, Asian punk and hardcore bands got what Europeans, American bands no longer have. I don't know if I really understand this take. I think the take is that Latin and Asian punk bands have that edge, have that aggression that the American punk bands don't have anymore. I think that's the take, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think this take might just be a little bit too general to throw a complete blanket over top of. The Misfits is just grease for nihilists. That's a great take. I've never heard that spoken so eloquently before. That is exactly what it is. You got the slick back hair, you got the leather jackets, you know what I mean? You're just out there being a punk rocker, being a greaser. 100% agree with that take. All right, here comes a long take. I'm gonna read the whole thing. Green Day had locked down up until 21st Century Breakdown came out. What? Live footage from the early 90s looked fun, and while maintaining a sort of dangerous vibe to casual concert goers, and for the stadium shows they had great stage presence for the stadium shows of American Idiot. Not really a well-constructed sentence over here. I think your grammar is the hottest take I see here. Definitely a band of all time for me. I just don't listen to them as much as I used to. Okay, where am I gonna start with this one? Green Day had locked down up until 21st Century Breakdown. Now, I don't even think I've listened to 21st Century Breakdown, but I definitely wouldn't say they had locked down until then. There was some time in the late 90s where they started to wane a little bit in popularity, but then that Time of Your Life song just boosted them right back to the top. And then the tour with Blink-182, and then American Idiot. They might have had like 1 or 2 little lulls throughout their career, and I think they're currently in one of them. Their stage shows did have a little sense of danger for sure, and nowadays their stage show is pretty standard rock and roll stuff, except for what I do like is that Billy Joel still brings somebody up on stage to play guitar to a song that they wrote or whatever, and I think that's an amazing little touch that they kept on their shows for the longest time. Okay, somebody comes in and says the Boomtown Rats were completely slept on for most of the US, and I believe, even if indirectly, they should be on the same levels as such bands as the Sex Pistols, etc. in terms of influence. Okay, now, the Boomtown Rats are not on the same level of influence as the Sex Pistols. They're just not. And you know that because you say that they should be. But in my mind, I don't even really consider them a punk band. Maybe a little bit art punk in some cases, maybe a little bit new wave in others, but definitely not straight punk rock, and definitely not as influential to the whole genre as the Sex Pistols. Someone else comes in and says proto/first wave/garage/glam punk is where it's at for me. Wendy L. Williams, Lux Interior, and Stiv Bators will always be the ultimate punks. I mean, I can't argue with that list. That's a pretty badass list of people right there. Now, I'm not sure if this next person is trolling, and by I'm not sure, I mean they for sure have to be trolling, right? They say, Broken Side were absolute genius visionaries and should be spoken of with the utmost reverence. I love the way that this is worded. I think it's an excellent take. If I met somebody with this actually genuine take, I would be their best friend forever, because I don't think that this is a genuine take that anybody actually has in the world. Broken Side are so unlistenable in every way, shape, and form. They just took all the aesthetics from the MySpace, post-hardcore, emo, or whatever, and just made the worst sounding music ever. Now we got this take here. Hardcore is about as trendy as any other music genre. Now, yes and no. When it comes to the musicality, you know what I mean? Yeah, for sure, for sure. If a band that gets really, really hot has this kind of vocal style or this kind of breakdown, yeah, that's going to repeat until people get bored of it and then they're going to move on or whatever. But the hardcore scene has pretty much remained unchanged for 40 years. Camos, Air Max 1s, hoodies, you know, that kind of vibe has not gone anywhere. And if you go to a hardcore show, you're going to see all sorts of different kinds of alternative types of people there. And yeah, those trends are going to be all over the place depending on what decade you exist in. Someone comes on and says, it's all just beautifully artistic overcompensation. And beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So what's beautiful to you might not be beautiful to somebody else. And yeah, I do think it's beautiful and artistic, but I don't think it's overcompensation. I don't think that these artists are overcompensating for something. I don't think they're like, hey, I'm not pretty, so I'm gonna be a punk band. Or I'm not very good at playing the guitar, so I'm gonna be in a punk band. I don't think it has anything to do with like overcompensation. I think that people just follow their hearts and do what's passionate. And if it's not for you, you're gonna get weeded out pretty early on. Someone simply says, NoFX is a good band. And that is a hot take, especially in today's day and age. But I would agree with it. Okay, I'm going to agree that NoFX is a good band, but their time is up. They gotta move on. And I think they are. Fat Mike has a side project. He has a label. He has all these things that he can be doing. He has a solo project coming out. Fat Mike is a very up dude, but he's also pretty talented. Someone says modern baseball is not emo and they also suck. That's a great take, and I would never be mad at anybody for having that take. I just don't personally agree with it. Now, this kind of music isn't gonna be my kind of music all the time, okay? But I actually do like one or two modern baseball albums. I think they know their way around a hook and a song structure. I think they're a pretty good band, and I would also consider them emo. Someone says punk is dead. In the mainstream culture and in the mainstream zeitgeist, yeah, 100%. But the shows and the heartbeat of the scene is still pumping to this day. Punk only started getting good in the 80s in the USA. 70s British stuff is god awful. I'm English, this guy says. Now, some of that I agree with and some of that I don't agree with. I think that bands like The Exploited suck so much. I hate that stuff. But The Clash are also in this class that you're talking about, and I cannot co-sign this take. Thank you to everybody that left me their takes. I really do appreciate it. I'm gonna get out of here right now, so thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Leave a couple pancakes down there. Ring the bell if you're cool as hell, and until my next upload, you can watch another upload.